Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Real Estate Heavyweights podcast. What's up, Tavis?
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm trying to bring the energy early because my voice may fade. I woke up coughing up crap, and I'm kind of losing my voice, but I'm pushing through because this is what we do.
Well, when you show up to the office like you've been doing,
I have been.
you're definitely around other sick people.
Oh, well, there's other positives, but yes, I have been getting out. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I feel like it started out like the other day. We were actually watching the Texas A&M game, first time in 13 years, and somewhere around the third quarter, it's like it hit me like this wave, and I've just felt real allergy stopped up. It was just this odd, very quick, acute type deal. And since then, it's felt very allergy-ish. But this morning, it has gone to my chest. I need to do some voiceover work when my voice is like this. Your voice always sounds like this, nice and deep. All those cigars for breakfast.
That sounds good, actually.
You don't have a cigar a week, do you?
No, it's definitely not that consistent. I mean, there might be, weekends or days when I might have more than one.
Yeah.
But now I might go a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks without one. I mean, it's not a necessity. It's more of one of those things that you just enjoy, in the right environment. So
now my father-in-law, James Bond of Arkansas, he may say that his cigars
Bond
are
of Arkansas. Look at that.
Yeah, James Bond.
That is
he used
your
to really lean
father-in-law.
into it. Yeah.
How did
he
you
used to
how did you
007
strike
license plates and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, Karen's maiden name is Bond. Her dad's name is James. He was a pilot for the Air Force, and he smokes. I think at least I know it's at least 3 cigars, and sometimes maybe 4. I guess depending on the situation. But I think at least 3 he smokes a day. And yeah, he's 82, still doing great. So he's going to write a book, and I will read it. 3 cigars a day, scotch at night during the news, and scotch and pretzels. Yeah, he's got to figure it out.
Man. Scotch and pretzels. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So this is I'm excited because next week you will be enjoying the fruits of your labor on a cruise. I don't know. Are you just going with Tabitha, or is this a big group?
This is our travel friends.
Okay.
Casey and Jared.
Okay.
So Casey just turned 50.
Okay.
And so that was a couple of weeks ago. So this is kind of his big trip, if you will. So this is
the last time y'all took a big boat down to the Caribbean, though, y'all were captaining it.
That's correct.
They're not going to let you captain this one. It's a little bit too big. You're doing a cruise, right?
Yeah, we're doing a cruise. I don't want to captain that. We are definitely going to be the passengers on this one. So.
But the cool part for me is you are in the throes of doing the house over there in Richardson. You're probably a month away from hopefully completion time over there. There's just a lot of things that have to happen over the next 10 days or so. And you went outside, you plugged in the bat signal to the front porch, and you threw it up into the sky looking for someone to come out and help you out while you're gone. And I will be the person who has answered the call, and I will be there every day trying to keep all of your guys in line. So luckily I've met a lot of your guys.
You make a good Batman. Yeah, I think,
of course.
I think you could wear
the suit might be a problem right now. It might be Anita Taylor, but the cars would be fun. I would have a hard time getting inside the car. I'd have to sort of revamp the whole Batman series, but yeah, luckily I've met a lot of your guys, and hopefully they all are very professional, and they do.
Yeah, and some of them you've used before because we brought them in on Mapleton last year. So some of the guys you already know. And
but we've talked about sequencing before. If you haven't heard the flipping university, go back. A lot of what we talk about and a lot of the questions, one of the biggest differences on how I did a flip poorly, and how Tavis manages his flips is the actual sequencing and the layering of people. And he knows, this guy needs to be done here, and these people don't want to pile on top of other crews. They need it to themselves, and these guys need 2 weeks to schedule. And he has all that laid out, and so it's all hopefully worked out. But if one thing kind of delays a little bit, and this guy drags, and now this guy won't show up, and it kind of falls apart a little bit. So we're going to try to avoid that.
That's what we ran into. Cabinets delayed us on that project. I mean, over 3 weeks from when I was ready for cabinets to be installed.
You should have let him know. You should have let him know you need cabinets.
Well, we did. That was not for a lack of communication on my behalf. I mean, and you can go through his text message, and he'll tell you, I don't know, Tavis let me know. There's no like Tavis dropped the ball here. This is not that case.
I don't. I know Ali, and I'm confident that you let him know. He goes Ali of anyone I know is completely comfortable with just ghosting you for weeks at a time. And then whenever he just he's super laid back. He's like, yeah, I'll be there, And but they were installing yesterday. They look awesome. You're doing this different style of shaker cabinet. You're doing a lot of sort of this white oak, sort of stripping type, vertical stripping, which we're going to look at a house later in the episode that also uses that. So it looks awesome. He does a great job. And I was there a little bit yesterday, and it's nice to be on site. Like yesterday's a great example is why you want to be there while they're installing some of these things, because it turned out that we decided to bump the island over like 2 inches, just so there's a little bit more clearance around the refrigerator. And normally he would have just gone by the drawing and put it in, and it would have been okay. But since you're there and y'all can kind of talk through it, you're able to do a little bit of customization. So that's definitely a bonus of being there a lot.
Sometimes just being there, even if you're not doing anything, you're not feeling like you're being productive, but physically being there during these points is important. And it's definitely, I feel like there's days where the days kind of go by and I'm over there and I don't feel like I'm being very productive. But they're monumental points in the process that, it's important to be there and see certain things, or, like you said, if you're there, the guys have a tendency to ask you questions much more than pick up the phone or text you and say, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? They'll just do it. And then you show up later and you're like, why'd you do it that way?
Right.
So, which goes back to, like you went through that with your front door, the guy destroying your front door last year, trying to,
it's a good point.
Fix it or whatever. It's like you run into that sometimes and you're like, why didn't you just call me? Why didn't you text me? Like it's one of those things where I use technology to the fullest, right? Like when I'm there, and of course it drives my guys probably bonkers because I'll text them and I don't send it in one text. I'll send it in multiple texts. And I also, will send them videos.
Yeah.
But technology allows me to do it. So then I can go back and go, hey, go back in your text, go back and watch the video, go back, because you're talking, you're pointing, you're like,
right.
I can't physically be back over there to sync right up with your schedule, but I can virtually do it now. But why the guys don't do it backwards to you, I don't know. I don't understand why that happens. But
no,
anyways,
but
it's coming together. It's cool. I'm really impressed with the size of the kitchen. Mind you, I designed it. We drew this back several months ago, but actually physically walking it, and we've done the renderings, and the renderings look amazing. But actually physically walking it now with the cabinets installed, and the kitchen's huge. I'm very impressed with the layout in there. So.
Definitely. Y'all did a great job. It's going to feel very custom. A lot of the tile work's getting done. A lot of the paint accent walls are going in. So it's starting to really feel like an actual house, and it's going to look awesome. So hopefully I do you proud while you're out, and there's no big delays, and we can keep things moving a little bit there. All right. Well, why don't we get into a little bit of a market update?
Let's do it.
So we look at the DFW MLS, and we always look at a 10-year look back. It actually made the news in DFW for whatever reason this week. They said this, the market has been the same since July, but that it's more of a balanced market, even though the month supply, we're at 4.6, actually it's dipped down to 4.4. It is on a downward trajectory. The morning news talked about how they feel like it's more of a balanced market. A lot of people would say 6 months of supply is the technical balanced market, but it has felt like buyers do have some sort of leverage. And although the last few months, now it's gone from 4.7, 4.6, now down to 4.4 month supply. So we'll see where that goes. We do look at things like days on market, and the average days on market has been kind of all over the place, but it's technically trending up right now. The entire MLS average day on market is 59. Denton County 59, Collin 51, and Dallas 47. New listings we take a look at, they are way down. Overall 11,062, but this time of year, this just happens. This is very normal for this time of year. Things slow down. And I was just commenting yesterday, actually, just from the logistical standpoint of looking at houses and dealing with houses. A lot of people want to go after work. Well, I went yesterday to show houses, and they couldn't go out until after 5, and it was dark by the time we got to some places. And it's kind of a weird experience, because then they're going to want to go back and see it during the daytime. But you don't want to put it off. And so it is a little bit, the actual function of buying and selling houses when it's this time of year is a little bit more difficult too. So I don't know if that plays a role. Plus we've had holidays and all that sort of thing. So let's look at our one more thing. I did look at the price decreases. We've been looking at that a lot. It's been actually over 10% of the overall market, but right now it's only about 5%. Price decreases in the last 7 days. 2541 is the number I have. Roughly, we have, let's see, homes for sale. We've been around 42. Yeah, we're at 41,000 for the November number is 41,000 homes for sale. And so 2,500 price decreases. And so that's good. That's going down. That actually changes a lot. So
yeah,
that's a 7-day look.
That's quite a bit difference.
Yeah.
Couple of weeks ago. How many are pending? Like, so that's another thing to look at is the active option and pendings, because that'll tell you who's pulling the trigger. Yeah.
So pending, we have 1,600 pending. We closed 1,700 over the last week, and 1,200 expireds. So price decreases 2,541. Yeah. So to me, that's a positive thing. Maybe people are just getting better at pricing. We also look at the percentage of original price. That's normally around 90. There's been times when it's been over 100. So things are going for over asking. In the last year or so that we've been looking at it, it's been roughly 97, 98. Right now, 95.9. So this goes in line with the price decreases. And so maybe people are just getting a little bit better at pricing on the front end, and so they're not having to do the price decreases. And if I had to guess, this percentage of total number will go up, because that people are just getting better at that. So we will see about that. All right, let's talk about a little bit of news. Voice cracking. All right, we got a lot of news. We've got some news that's just kind of in the DFW area, and we got some hyper local breaking news that has to do a little bit with the real estate heavyweights. Someone has a personal connection to something that's in the news. And so we'll talk about that. But one of the things in the Dallas Morning News that popped up in North Plano, of course, Tavis lives in Plano. I live in Carrollton. This is our part of town. Pizza Hut is taking their corporate headquarters are in Plano. So they are picking a location in North Plano or off of Ohio, near 121 is what it said. And they have a new concept. And it looks more like a traditional fast food restaurant with the drive-thru and kind of the glass front where you have some tables and chairs out front. Like more like kind of looks like a small Chick-fil-A or something, or a Chipotle. and they're revamping their menu to where they have much more of a drive-through friendly menu where you can drive through, order a fresh pan pizza, and it's ready in no time, and boneless wings and that sort of thing. So it seems like they're getting away more from sort of the order and delivery type thing as much, and they're trying to do more of a hey, I want some pizza right now type folks. And so the concept looks really cool. So maybe this will be taking up some of the corners when going into small town West Texas, driving from here to Amarillo, but we hunt over in Headley. Our family has land in Headley. It's 4 hours away on 287. A lot of those little towns.
Have you been this year?
No, I need to go hunt. I want to go hunt. I don't know if I'm in love with the concept of hunting or the actual hunting, but part of me kind of is in love with the concept of hunting, because when I started thinking about getting there and actually shooting something and cleaning it and taking it to the processor and then going back up there to get the meat, and then
sounds like work.
I don't know, man. I might just go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
I like going up there and spending time, and it's pretty, but like I may start turning into one of those old guys that just goes and sits out and watches the deer run and just like, okay, I could have killed that one, but let's just let him go. I don't know, man. I had that thought process of like, do I love the meat that much to where it's like that important? But then there is just that, I think that connection to your food and connection to, your ancestors who actually had to go out and kill things and drag them back. I do enjoy that. And I like having that skill set. Not that I'm great at it, but anyway, I have not been yet this year. But if you go through a lot of those small towns driving on 287, a lot of them are semi ghost towns. For whatever reason, Pizza Hut had quite a hold. It seems like in like the 80s, and there's a lot of vacant Pizza Hut buildings between here and Headley on 287. And it's always a little depressing to drive by them. So maybe they'll revamp some of those too. So, all right. One of the things that was cool, and we'll have to go check this out over in Rockwall. There is a Canadian. This is bizarre to me. A Canadian chocolate company is building a $20.5 million chocolate factory in Rockwall, and you're going to be able to take tours of it.
Okay.
Self-guided tours. And so this reminds me of whenever I went to San Francisco last year for one of Luke's band things. I went to the Jelly Belly factory where they do all the Jelly Belly, like popcorn flavor, and talk about depressing. There's a self-guided tour. And so you could walk around the catwalk up above the factory, and it was these glass, and you just watch these dudes down there working. And I just felt bad for those, because they just look like hamsters, like in a cage. And then just idiots like me are wearing around this stupid paper hat, and, with $45 worth of Jelly Bellies you're trying while you're walking around. And I just felt bad for the people actually working, for probably not a whole lot. But I'll go to this chocolate factory to do the same thing, because I like chocolate. So, but yeah, that was cool. The Canadian company's bringing a chocolate factory over to Rockwall. Rockwall's blowing up. It's got all sorts of stuff going in over there. So that will be cool. All right, let's get to the part. There's two of us on the show. One of us has an acquaintance that they've had lunch with that got indicted on federal charges this last week. And that's not me. So Tavis, Westbrook, let's talk about yesterday. Yeah. Let's talk about your close friend. Not close friend, but you do know her, Nicole Espinoza.
I wouldn't say that, but
yeah. Not close friend, but you do know her. You're
also known as
the short sale queen.
Yes, also known as the short sale queen. So, she's written a few books. I'll lay the groundwork for this just real quick, and then you can talk about your. So Nicole Espinoza, yesterday, known as the short sale queen. She's 35 of Plano. Two other ladies of the area, Stephanie Parks and Selena Baltazar of Dallas, were indicted. They faced up to 30 years in federal prison. Nicole is the big name. She's known as a short sale queen. She's written several books. I'm sure she has courses and that sort of thing on how to buy short sales and work in that world. Mm-hmm. They were indicted
on charges that they falsified documents in some of their dealings. On it actually mentions 88 properties totaling over $8 million in sales. They benefited $390,000 in commissions and caused at least $2.5 million in losses for financial institutions. So why don't you kind of let's back into this. You know Nicole a little bit. It blew up yesterday on some of the Facebook groups of the investment world in Dallas. And so, yeah, how did you find out about her? How do you know her? And then let's kind of talk about what she's accused of, what short sales are, and where she went wrong, maybe.
Yeah. So Nicole has kind of been a name around for a while. I don't know exactly when she got started, but short sales. It obviously foreclosures were really heavy after the mortgage crash and 2000. So post 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. That things were really ramping up on the foreclosure side of things. And then shortly, around the same time, was also kind of when short sales started getting really popular. Really, so we started seeing a lot of short sale opportunities 2011, 12, 13, somewhere in that range. And then they kind of continued on for a little while. And, I don't know. Social media is probably where I first learned of Nicole. And then later, she merged her team into KW Preston Road, where Ashton and myself both hang our license. And at one point in time, we had lunch. We kind of crossed paths a couple times at some of the conventions, and kind of running the same, similar circles. I mean, because she was interested in the investment side of things on fix and flip. As well as wholesaling and things like that. In fact, I remember watching the interview she did. She did a podcast for a while as well, and she interviewed, Josh Shashong, and you really saw her growth and her development in the industry, and she did great marketing. Right, she really blew up in the social media platform, and blew up her name. And so people know who she is. Well, yesterday, after being indicted, it went out on the DFW investment page, which is members to, I don't know, over 40,000 members.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, I feel sorry. Like, I feel pretty sad for her. She's a single mom. She's got 3 kids. And just seeing her name get slandered all over social media from this type of situation sucks, right? Like, that you don't want to see that happen to anybody. And I think at the end of the day, it's important to kind of understand how short sales work, because there's a lot of information when you research this case. There's a lot of things that kind of sound really bad, but if you don't know anything about, well, they sound really bad if you don't know anything about short sales. We'll put it that way. Now, I think there is some issues there with fraud. And it's not the first time I've heard of this happening, and I've heard of other people doing it. In fact, I've known of this to happen even with the investment side of things, trying to buy REO and things like that. REO is real estate owned property. Basically, it means that the property's been foreclosed on and the bank now owns the property. A short sale in this fact means that the property is going into foreclosure or pre-foreclosure, and somebody owns the home and they're going to lose it. And so a short sale is a negotiation with the bank that owns the mortgage note that is going to foreclose. And it's basically a negotiation with the bank to take less than what's owed on the property. Now, lately the mortgage loans are low enough to where there's equity. And so short sales aren't near as popular as they used to be. It still happens, but at a period of time when the market was shifting over after the mortgage crisis, people had, really high mortgages, or they did 100% loan financing, et cetera. And their appreciation hadn't gained that much momentum. So therefore, they're upside down based on condition, based on demand in the market. And Essentially, they owed more than what the home was worth. Well, so what they had to do is, in order to sell it, get the bank on board to agree to sell it short of what's owed. So that's where the name short sale comes from. Originally, when I started doing my very first short sale transaction I was ever involved in was in 2005. And they weren't really popular then. And we got the bank to basically negotiate a sell about $100,000 less than what was owed on it in order to buy this property. And we ended up buying it, facilitating it for another investor, and flipping this property. Nevertheless, the the process, when you hear short, you think speed, you think fast. And there is no speed when it comes to this. This is not a fast process. So essentially what Nicole and her team did is they, in order, it makes it sound bad that she targeted homeowners that were in foreclosure and got to them first and got a listing agreement together, and then went to the bank and started negotiating on behalf of the seller. Well, that's what a short sale is. Basically, a short sale is preventing a foreclosure and getting the bank to sell the property for less. It allows the seller to sell the home. Now, the seller can't take any proceeds on this, so it is restricted that the seller cannot take any proceeds. Now, there is more information that's kind of in this case talking about different LLCs and different companies that were developed. So was there something behind the scenes going on that maybe they were doing kickbacks, or maybe she was doing something illegal there? Possibly. I mean, obviously the U.S. Marshals have enough information here to indict her. It says that these cases have been building since 2017. So there's probably a lot of information here that we don't know about. But essentially, short sale is there to help the seller, and it's basically you're helping the seller fight the bank, to avoid foreclosure. So short sale is not necessarily a bad thing. People, in this case, when you read it, it really makes it out to look that way. But obviously, falsifying documents and things like that is fraud, and it is illegal. Hypothetically, the process of doing that, she would basically, what it's saying is that she would put together a proof of funds letter along with a basically a falsified purchase contract from somebody or a different company saying that they're going to buy this property, therefore would present that to the bank to get the bank to approve the short sale prior to actually having a bona fide buyer that was willing to purchase and close on the property.
Yeah.
Now, I'll put it this way. When I had opportunities to buy short sales, again, I go back to the process. It's not fast. We would write an offer, we would submit the offer, and it might be 4 months, 5 months before we had an approval from the seller to see if they would even entertain our offer in order to buy that property. Meanwhile, they do postpone foreclosure. They do carry this out. They do put it in a process in which they're trying to negotiate. So that's something else that's brought up in that indictment is, well, they delayed things in order to, postpone the foreclosure, and ultimately resulted in millions of dollars of loss to the bank. Well, the bank agreed to a short sale, therefore that's the loss, right? That's where they lost money. They agreed to the short sale. So if they go to foreclosure, the bank was still going to pay money to go to foreclosure. They may or may not have gotten what they owed on the property going to foreclosure. There's no guarantee there. They're going to put it out at auction, and they're going to sell it to whatever that willing buyer is willing to pay. So that's why banks choose to do a short sale, because it's a bird in the hand versus going through the process of the unknown and putting it out on the auction block and seeing what happens, right?
Yeah.
So it's important to understand really the process of what she did. Now,
and maybe she was trying to speed it up. Maybe that's where she went wrong. And as opposed to just going with the process, it taken 4 or 5 months, and she wanted to speed it up. So she said, "Hey, we have a buyer. Let's go ahead and do." And then she went almost like a wholesaler and marketed it to her people and said, "Hey, I've got a house where the bank has agreed to sell it for $100,000 less.
Right.
Are you interested? And then she would bring a buyer in and maybe, maybe switch out the buyer, or assign it to somebody. I don't know. This is all
Yeah,
just
I don't know
assuming.
there. I think it's important to understand, like, everybody's blowing this up and it's making it sound really, really bad. And it's not to say that there isn't wrongdoing here. Obviously there is, if, like I said, it goes back. This is a legitimate federal indictment. This is a legitimate charge. But the slander and the comments and the people talking out there. And in fact, I got a phone call from a friend of mine that's learning this business, that's in the insurance business, and he's connected to other mortgage people. And he said, I've heard, she's not the best person to deal with on the mortgage side. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. If she's trying to negotiate with a mortgage company for a lesser dollar, she's going to go after that mortgage company to try to get the benefit for her client, right? But that's kind of the cutthroat side of short sales. Like, essentially, you are representing the seller to try to benefit the seller versus the bank. It's you against the bank. The seller is still the one selling the property. The bank is not the one that has ownership of the deed. Now, they have the deed of trust, and that's what you're trying to get the bank to negotiate a lower amount in order to sell the property. So it sounds like her processes weren't the best and weren't up and up on how she approached it. But it really makes it sound really bad when they're throwing out these numbers of 88 properties and $8 million and $2 million in losses to the bank and yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, like I said, the process of a short sale is the bank negotiating to sell it less than what the mortgage is that's owed. So that's the loss. The 88 properties and the commissions worth 300 something $1,000 or whatever. That's the sell side of our business. That's representing a seller, and that's getting commissions earned on being able to sell the property. So it's, I think when they throw all that out, it sounds way worse than it really is. It's important just to understand.
Well, and the way you're saying it too is, if they wanted to explain it to someone who knew they were talking about, they could say, hey, she did a normal short sale. She was representing the buyer. Where she went wrong was the seller. Where she went wrong was she provided false documents to the bank somewhere along the line, either to speed up the process, or to get the approval, or whatever it was. She went ahead and falsified documents, and maybe at the time she didn't even know that would be considered falsifying. Maybe she had good intentions to say, hey, I'm a backstop. I'll write this. I'll buy this house, but I'm going to go out and try to find another buyer. And who knows? I don't want to put words in her mouth or know exactly. And maybe the other side of this is, maybe she knew exactly what she was doing, and she cheated a bunch of banks, and she did it once, and she's like, oh, that went pretty well. And, didn't get caught and tried it again. There's also that, and I know you know her, and in a way, of her.
I don't know her really well. I mean, I've talked to her on several occasions. I've had lunch with her, kind of, talking business, right? And what I do, what she does.
When you said her personality is very driven, kind of type A, very strong personality, and I know that type, and hey, good for her. She built a business. And what's funny about this is that this is actually the personality of people who succeed on Instagram and on YouTube. It's they have to put themselves out there. They have to be super driven and boisterous. And I'm sure there's people that have been successful, others, but you see it a lot. There's several in Dallas,
brash,
even.
Right. Very
They're just
brash,
real
and
brash,
very overly confident.
Really confident, writing books, doing the seminars. And there's multiple, people make a business about that. And they're not all trying to defraud people either. But I think there's also that tendency of, like, whenever things start going well, like, you've got to keep the train moving, and you've got to provide properties to your list, and you've got to be someone who can get deals done and all this stuff. And I could see how sometimes you get into over your head and you're like, I don't know, okay, this time we'll do it this way. We can't do this again, but let's just go ahead and get the deal done. And then it happens and you do it again. So really sucks. It sucks that she's someone's going to go through this, but it all on the flip side, it sucks that, if you look at it from the negative, maybe it's on face value, she did it. it sucks that there's people out there that are giving true real estate investors that are trying to do it right a bad name,
Yeah.
and it's putting it in the news and making people who actually do short sales the right way. It makes them look like they're sketchy or they're trying to do something wrong.
Well, and it's one of those things you're wondering, is somebody just, did somebody get pissed off, at her personally, or is this somebody that just saw a loophole here or read her book and was like, hey, that's fraud? I'm curious to know, because short sales have happened for a long time, and this is probably the first time we've ever seen one blow up with this kind of, legal federal, indictment behind it, to this degree. And of course, it's going to get blown out of proportion. That they're already blowing it up on social media, and I just, again, I feel bad because she had a huge presence on social media, and I know she's a proud mom of 3, and it's like, when you see that, this person has a life, and that, and mind you, could she have done bad things and hurt other people that had kids and a family and things like that too? Sure. But it really sounds like to me the big argument here is that the banks lost money, and the banks feel like she manipulated the bank in order to, make this transaction take place and get it done. Now, again, if there was like kickbacks and, other things going on around the edge that were, putting money in her pocket, you know, to benefit her versus, benefiting the seller and things like that, obviously those things are wrong and they're not legal, and therefore, she's facing penalties because of it. So it'll be interesting to see as this case kind of unfolds. I think that, to me, I think she had to know this was coming, and possibly they gave her through Thanksgiving to get her things in order and, indicted her. And I'm sure she'll probably make bail and bond and be out of jail here soon. But, it's just, oh man, it's just sad. And I bring this up because I had somebody that I knew, actually was a coach of Anthony's, growing up, and I won't get into it too deep, but I'll put it this way. He was in a situation, and it was some kids that were in a store, and they threw a ball and they hit his wife in the head with a ball, and he approached the kids and tried to deal with it there, and I guess the kids were very disrespectful, and it kind of escalated from that point, and he ended up seeing them at a gas station. And so he got out and he went up to the kids again, and I guess he grabbed the kid's backpack. Well, somebody was recording this. Some lady in the parking lot was recording this situation going on. And this is like a later age teenager, but still a teenager. And this guy was a local high school coach at a school. And anyways, they saw this happen. They blew it up on social media. They basically attacked this coach and went after this coach, and then they blew it up on social media, and they pushed this out everywhere, across the social media platforms, and just made this guy out to be this terrible person, and he attacked this teenager and yada yada yada. Blew it up to a point where there was like the other son, I guess this coach's son was also a coach somewhere at a high school, and they blew this thing up to a point where it became death threats and all kinds of stuff. And unfortunately, the guy ended up taking his life, like within 10 days from this process. Like the day it started, the day the incident happened, to social media, it may have not been 10, but it was within, I heard it was 10 days. It was a very short amount of time that the stress and this thing blew up to slander and make this guy out to be such a horrible person that he ended up deciding to take his own life.
That's awful.
It's wild, right? And then you just think about it. So I don't know. As I'm seeing this and I'm just seeing that, I feel bad, and it's not to say, the point of the matter is, like, we're trying to all run a business, and sometimes what you think and what you do, you don't understand the repercussions of it. I guarantee you, if she had a proof of funds letter she put together and trying to get the bank to accept a letter, she never thought it would result in something like this. Right? She was thinking, hey, I'm trying to help my seller. My seller's in a position, they're going to lose this house. I'm trying to get the bank to accept an agreement to do a short sale on this. This saves my seller from getting a foreclosure on the record. Again, the seller's not supposed to make any proceeds from this. The seller just gets basically a free slate clean, right? Like they have the mortgage rates already. They're already in default, but they don't have technically
dings their
a foreclosure.
Credit, but they're not out a ton of money.
Yeah, they don't have to wait the time limit of what it is to clean your credit, for a foreclosure. I forget exactly the timeline. Is it 5 years or 7 years or something like that? Yeah. So I don't know. It's sad. It's sad all the way around. And you just have to really watch what you're doing and think about, approaches. I brought this up early on in this conversation about REO. The reason I did it is because back when REO was popular and you see foreclosures hit the MLS, there was people I knew strategizing how to go out and send out 20 offers a day on foreclosures. And it was just a crapshoot of how many offers can I write on this particular, on these opportunities to get the bank to accept one, right? Mm-hmm. The bank owns it. It's already been foreclosed. They're distressed properties. But let's draw up this program that'll kick out so many offers and send pre-approval letters with it, or proof of funds with it, things like that. So, it does exist. I mean, ultimately, I think that the people closing on the property, it sounds like the transactions were legit. I mean, that part of it seems legit. The bank taking the loss seemed like an agreed loss. So they just really make it sound bad on the fact that she was targeting people that were on the pre-foreclosure list, which is public knowledge. And you and I, as investors, can go knock on those doors and offer the same opportunity. But in our case, we would be offering to buy it, right?
Yeah. No, my dad, when they flipped down in Austin, I mean, he was really good at talking to people in pre-foreclosure, and, he connected with them on a human level, and, they had filed bankruptcy years before. And so like he'd kind of been through that process, and he could talk to him in a way. It was like, look, you're not a bad person. This sucks. But I can help you out. And the flips that they did, he did several that were in that realm. So it's a whole world of people that's what their business is built around. And maybe they're making an example of her because she's got a name, she's got books, and she's like, a lot of people will understand like, hey, you can't do it this way. And, hopefully if she actually did something wrong, she doesn't spend 30 years in federal prison. I mean, that seems like that would be a long, long time for what this seems like. But again, if she intentionally did something, she probably definitely needs to pay something for that, and people need to learn from it. And we've said it before on the podcast, and we'll go to our last section here in a second, but we've said it before, investing is tough. It's confusing. There's a lot of different aspects of investing. There's a lot of little nooks and crannies that you can make money. Just understand what you're doing and who you're dealing with. Try to do the best you can. I mean, I'm sure you can't always know every little detail about every little secret that someone has, but if something seems off or too good to be true or too easy, there might be something you need to run it by. I mean, I've had something recently that I've run by Tavis and a couple good friends are like, does this seem off to you? And, and several of them were like, yeah, that seems a little off. And so, anyway, it's okay to seek counsel and take a breath and step back, So anyway, well, thanks for that. I hope, we'll definitely keep an eye on this, see how it plays out, and we will keep you updated on that. All right. So the last several weeks, we have included the last segment of the day where we look at a house. Tavis wanted to look and see what cool new builds were being thrown up in the DFW area. And there's a gorgeous one up in called Kingswood.
The Hills of Kingswood. Yeah.
Hills of Kingswood.
There's a lot of really cool custom modern homes going in this neighborhood up in Frisco.
And in this actually zoned for Hebron of all places, but this is a $6 million house. So if you're playing along at home, I'll put a link, 3294 Santa Bella Drive in Frisco.
So does this back up to, if it goes to Hebron, is it backing up to core property? I think it has a pretty good area that backs up to core,
It's not a golf course, but yeah, it's this is a neighborhood you can actually see from Grandscape. If you're there at the truck yard, they have a little bit of an outlook type. You can kind of climb this one tower area and look over, and it's a really cool view. And one of the neighborhoods you can see, I believe, is the hills of Kingswood. Well, no, that's not true. It's a little bit far south. Well,
I'm looking now and I see it. It's up north of North Colony Boulevard.
Yeah. So no, I'm thinking of a different. There's another Kings something that way, but So beautiful house. I like this style
it's off
because
of Lebanon, and then you go back in off of Lebanon. It looks like Rock Creek Parkway. But how the heck did they get that to go to Hebron? Because everything below it is the colony. So how did they get that to route around?
I don't. I think I'm accurate, right? Is this? We can look at it, but
I'm looking at it now. It's like in between Lebanon,
Hebron.
And
there's this weird little cutout that goes up into Frisco, and there's these just gorgeous houses up there. So interesting. I like this. The style of this house from the front. It's definitely like if you took away some of the awnings, it's just a white box. It's sort of the modern white box. But they did a good job with some of the awnings where it almost gives us this like Pueblo Spanish feel. And they've used some different materials. It just has a different vibe to it. And then your normal just plain white box. But whoever designed the inside, if I had to guess, they work with some sort of design firm that does hotels, because a lot of these materials just very much read luxurious hotel to me. The office has a metallic wallpaper. It has your vertical slats that we talked about a little bit earlier that you're doing on your cabinets. These are stained. You're doing white oak, but these look a little bit more stained, maybe like a red oak. Looks like they got a hidden door in one of the walls. A lot of the black frame windows. The dining room is super cool. They've got this, I guess you would call it a chandelier, but they're these like cables of lights that are draping and super, I don't know. I love that. And the wall treatment, I can't tell if it's built into the wall or if that's a piece of art, but it's sort of a luminescent wall. Just really unique. I've never seen anything like this. Whoever designed this, super creative. But yeah, as you go through the house, and what's neat about it is a lot of the materials and the colors you're actually using over there in Richardson, kind of the light, bright, white oak, a lot of gold fixtures. So I don't know that Aaron's house will look exactly like this. This is a $5 million house, but I am impressed that, I do like the color schemes. I think it's going to look awesome. Would you ever tackle a $5 million project? Like this is a new build. So this is a spec. This also, the other thing that we didn't talk about, this is a spec build.
Yeah.
So this is a $5 million spec build. It's got a butler's kitchen. Man, this whole thing is just awesome. But that's a big old chunk of money to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's been a lot of controversy lately, and discussing, those kind of returns, like you can get on a $5 million home. Obviously, our friend Eric Crutchfield, is boasting and talking about this all the time. Talking about another person that's all over social media and is blown up overnight.
Yeah. I mean, this is a type of property he would talk about making, $600,000 on or something, or $1 million, like a lot, a big.
Exactly.
Property,
yeah. Talking about a 7-figure return, and but keep in mind, this doesn't happen overnight. This is like a year and a half, 2 year. This was probably a 2-year project, if not more. by the time they bought the lot, designed it and developed and built this thing. How many
and
square
we've talked
feet
about
is it?
this, like just sourcing some of these materials. I don't know
Yeah.
where you go. Let's the game room upstairs. They have these really cool mini fans that have a light around it. I don't know where you go to get some
Those
of
you
these
can
one-off
get
things.
those now. That's just
You
new
may
stuff that
know
keeps
way
getting
more of this
developed.
stuff. When I see some of this, when I see some of these materials, I'm like, I have no concept of even where you would start to find this stuff.
Right.
Specifically lights, you found some really cool granite and quartzite for your project that you're doing now. And
Yep.
they've used a lot of those in here. In the primary bathroom, they have the lifted up vanities with the lights underneath. You've done that. You've done the mirrors that light up.
They're
I don't
using
know.
the same baseboards.
You could build this. Look at picture 16. So this picture 16 is the primary.
Yep.
Look at the wall treatment. Is that a wallpaper?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it looks like wallpaper.
It's like a one piece. It's a huge wall, one piece wallpaper. It's real subtle. Anyway, kudos to whoever built this one. And let's see.
It looks like, the name was in the description, who the builder was.
Oh, okay. Experience Ventura Custom Homes. Unmatched design.
So one of the things
that did, lavishly soft and moody finishes.
One of the things they did, which is cool, and again, it can be done, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, is the trim around the doors. They did not do casing. So they actually terminated the sheetrock directly into the casing.
Yes, only someone who has flipped a house would notice that.
Well, built a house.
Yeah, built a house from scratch. No casing around doors, which is neat, but you have to have build in things to make it super
it's another
durable
tedious, another very tedious thing. So, look, they did a lot of things in here that warrant, a $5 million finish out in a home. It looks like, one of the things they did that's kind of cool. If you look in the master bath, that area over to the right side, they ended up putting glass up with privacy stitching on it, and that's I believe probably where the toilet is.
Yeah. I noticed that they had frosted the actual shower.
No, I think that's the toilet area.
Oh, that's a toilet area.
Yeah.
I see. So it lets the light through, but it's frosted. But it's like stripes of frosting, so they can kind of see you in there.
It's not going to help with noise or anything.
No, it'll echo. Actually, whatever you're doing behind that frosted glass is going to echo throughout the house because it's just glass and.
Did you see what they did up in the game room too, with like all the detail on the walls?
Oh yeah, a lot of really neat details. They got a bar upstairs. I mean, honestly, this house feels like a really nice hotel. Like I would stay at this hotel. So
it looks like there's an elevator there too.
This is listed by Keller Williams Frisco Stars, Will Kohlberg. We should reach out to Will and see if we can. You have to meet the agent at this house. They vet everyone there. We do have to provide a proof of funds. So we just learned we can't fake our proof of funds to go look at a house. Okay. Maybe this won't work out for us. All right. Well, good luck, Will. I hope it sells quickly and you kill it on that one. That's awesome.
I love the wallpaper in that. It looks like maybe a powder bathroom. You see, it looks like alligator.
Yeah.
I've seen that before, and I've actually rendered that into one of my designs before, but I've never physically found the alligator wallpaper before.
I think I've been in a hotel in San Antonio that had that, actually, down on the
See, Walk. I mean, some people criticize about like following some of these hotel designs and putting them in their house because they're like, I don't want to live in a hotel. I want to visit a hotel. I'm like, okay, I get it, but hotels obviously do it, and people freaking love it, and they pay a premium to stay there overnight. So why not have?
Why not go in
some
every
of these
once in a while
cool features in your primary home?
Yeah, go into a cool powder bath in your own home that's a little bit different. That strays from the IKEA vanity and the beige paint. Like
exactly. One thing, one of these trends that I'm seeing right now too, that's pretty cool, is these true butler pantries.
Yeah.
Like if you look in the kitchen's all set up and well appointed, but then you go to the butler pantry.
It's nice.
And they have a whole nother cooking area with a vent hood, and a sink, and it's pretty wild.
It's made for catering, or to be able to prep food out of sight.
Yeah, I just don't know if you're going to have that. Then why do you have another stove in your main kitchen like that?
That's a bit much for me. I mean, unless you're just entertaining all the time,
Right.
But also, who are you entertaining that's going to be put off by your hired chef in your main kitchen cooking
in your
stuff?
main kitchen, versus being behind closed walls.
I can't believe you didn't think about this, Janet. He should be hidden. That's really weird. I would not spend money for that probably, but hey, again, Will, I hope you kill it, and I hope it goes well. And if you want to test out some of those
cool house
features in kitchen, and you're doing a broker's open, whipping up some apps, let me know. All right, well, that's the show for today. My voice did survive. Next week we may have to maybe get a special guest in here. Tavis will be gone for a while. So I'll borrow your bat signal, plug it into your house, and see if I can find a co-host. So we'll figure that out. I hope you have a great time on your cruise. I hope I don't disappoint with the management of the house, and we'll hopefully be in a really good position when you get back. So that's good. Fingers crossed.
Awesome.
All right. Well, if you have not, please like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and all the things. I'm Ashton Hines, Dallas Real Estate Guy. This is Tavis Westbrook, Tavis Westbrook Designs. Find us anywhere that you would normally find people on social media. Follow us on Spotify, on Apple Music, so you know when we have a new episode coming up. And until next time, I hope you have a great day.
Thank you.